Good morning. You're watching NFL Daily, a fresh batch of NFL Power Rankings for you guys, presented by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. If you're hiring for your small business, use the platform. Small businesses rank number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. All right, week 2 in the books. It's Power Rankings time as we get ready already for week 3. We've got couple days till Thursday Night Football. We're going worst to first, AP poll style from the Consensus Chat Sports voters. Early on in the year, there are some big differences. Now, this week, there was no consensus at number 32. The Falcons were just behind of the Carolina Panthers. Not that far removed from that spot. Both NFC South teams have not looked great. They are winless. Unsurprisingly, most of your winless teams lead the way in the bottom. The Houston Texans are number 30. They kind of hung around against the Broncos. They did, of course, tie against the Colts, who I think you'll see in a minute. But first, if you want weekly Power Rankings videos, then like this one. Let's show the bosses you want this every day. I come in early. My wife does not like it when I leave her at home with the newborn early in the morning, so help me out. Like the video if you want more Power Rankings each and every single week. All right, I'll mention where noteworthy some of the drops and rises, like the Texans and Panthers were all super low last week. The Colts were number 19, and they plummet down to number 29. We all watched that Jags game. They look like a dumpster fire, and it's fair to wonder if maybe Matt Ryan is just a little bit washed. Number 28, the Seattle Seahawks. They were 25 last week. Nobody was quite buying into them all the way, so only a slight drop after a pretty big blowout at the hands of the 49ers. The Jets were number 32 last week. They jump up to number 27 in this week's batch of Power Rankings after a very impressive and improbable, unlikely, unbelievable maybe, comeback win over the Browns. Speaking of fallers, the Titans, who for the most part preseason were top 10, top 15. They were 21 last week. They continue to drop to 26. It wasn't just that they lost to the Bills. It's that they got embarrassed. Do you know how hard it is to get into garbage time in the third quarter? That's what happened. They pulled Tannehill, Derrick Henry. It was a blowout. Frankly, Tennessee should be a little concerned and outright embarrassed. The Commanders at number 25, a slight drop from last week. They were number 22. They slide down 3 spots. You got to wait to the end to see the consensus number 1 team in our NFL Power Rankings, but you can make your votes heard in the comment section right now. Who is the best team in the NFL? Let us know in the comment section at the pinned comment. The ad break comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know. The Chicago Bears, number 24. I don't know how much you can read into that opening week game against the Niners with all the rain, and they didn't play very well against the Packers. I still think Justin Fields scored, but still, the Bears drop a handful of spots to 24. All right, time for one of our really biggest risers of the week. The Jags were number 30. They jump all the way up to number 23. They are, as weird as this sounds to say out loud, the highest rated AFC South team. Somebody has to win this division, and after I was like, probably not this year for Jacksonville, maybe it is the Jags here in the division. Tennessee looks bad, the Colts look bad, the Texans look bad, the Jags look okay, and that might be enough in the only weak AFC division. Who you got? Who will win the division? TEN for the Titans, JAC for the Jags, IND for the Colts, HOU for the Houston Texans. The Raiders fall down 7 spots. I still don't know how they lost that game. I mean, the Cardinals out here with running mesh on 2-point tries, which makes no sense. They're having a delay of game on a 2-point try. The Raiders choked, and they blew it. 0-2. Wouldn't it make sense if they won next week against the Chiefs? Wouldn't that be so on brand for the AFC West overall? The Browns now at number 21, they do slide down several spots, and I was lower than most on the Browns, but it is AP poll style rankings here. Cleveland checks in at number 21. Bad loss, though, against the Jets. Now, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. You know, we've hired more people at Chat Sports as we continue to grow. The Power Rankings voters grows by every year. LinkedIn Jobs helps us make sure we get the right person in the job. It's very easy, by the way, to create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs when you go to linkedin.com/NFL Daily. Once you create it, it's about as easy as it comes, folks. Trust me. Add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. Help spread the word you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. You know, season's early, but as you hire people in the NFL and for your small business too, you want to make sure you get the right team member to make sure you're finishing the year out strong, especially since the calendar is winding down in real life, not so much for the NFL. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Oh, by the way, I'll make sure that link, linkedin.com/NFL Daily, is in the comment section and the description as well of today's show. All right, let's move on now to number 20 in our power rankings. The Detroit Lions, big-time risers from 27 last week. A very impressive win over the Commanders. A narrow loss against a potentially really good Philly team. I'm kind of buying a little bit of the Lions right now. I was higher on them the most. The Cowboys at number 19, who finished behind a team we'll get to in a minute, thanks to producer Jack. Blame him. I take no responsibility. They were 26 last week. They jump up similar ranks there as the Detroit Lions, according to our pollsters here. But are they good? You know, they were bad offense in week 1. They were okay in week 2. The defense looks awesome. Dak is still injured. Are the Bucs just good? Are the Bengals just bad? Who knows? Are the Cowboys good? Y for yes or N for no. Now, the Bengals are still number 18. I was going through all the AP poll voting, so I'm like, wait, why are the Bengals ahead of the Cowboys? Everyone had the Cowboys ahead, barely, except for producer Jack. Jack is not out on the Bengals. He had them, 12 this week? It was 12 this week for Jack. He had them 5 last week. Overall, they fell from 10 to number 18. I am worried about the Bengals and a very potentially real Super Bowl hangover. Nobody is buying the Giants quite yet. Undefeated 2-0, but they're only number 17. They moved up several spots again this week. They haven't played good football teams. I mean, it's the Titans and the Panthers. When you beat 26-31, you're not quite buying. Beat the Cowboys. Start 3-0. They will rise significantly, although I wonder if this is just the new Panthers from last year. Number 16, the New England Patriots, a big-time jump from the low 20s last week after they take down the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, again, I had the Patriots ahead of the Steelers. Not everybody did in the AP poll-style rankings that we do here. The Steelers had a very impressive Week 1 showing. You know, Patriots ended up not from that perspective. So Patriots at 16, Steelers at 15. Yes, I was surprised by that one. I will make note quickly, by the way, from roughly, the 18, 19 range to about 13, 12, there's not much of a gap. Denver checks in at 14. There's a lot of just uncertainty on a bunch of 1-1 teams. Nathaniel Hackett, by the way, he might not be it. I've been very underwhelmed by him so far. The Cardinals at 13, they jump up a few spots here. Again, the 17, 18, 13, 11 range, it's all very muddled with a bunch of 1-1 teams that I don't think anyone quite buys yet from the Chat Sports perspective. Arizona checks in at 13. We'll do this every week, folks. And early on, there's a lot of fluctuation, a lot of change. So if you want to know how we feel about our power rankings, and of course, get all the news, not just opinions, but the actual facts as they happen, hit that big red button and subscribe, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Saints didn't look great against the Bucs, but I kind of think the Bucs are good. They kind of had a very unique quirk this week where, the teams that were directly in front of them last week, teams like the Bengals and Steelers, and even the Broncos too, not the Broncos, all lost. Like they kind of stayed the same, the Saints did. The Niners jumped up several spots to number 11. They looked much improved against the Seattle Seahawks. But this range here, before we get to number 8-ish really, there's a very thin gap there, and there will be plenty of movement throughout. So if your team's too low, blame Mitch. Number 10, the Minnesota Vikings. They slide down. Look, every quarterback has bad games. It's just weird that Kirk Cousins' bad games always come in prime time. He was bad again. Now, look, the defense didn't play well either. Their plan was, we're going to make Jalen Hurts beat us through the air. Oops, we forgot to cover. And it's just kind of like blown coverage. Hats off to Philadelphia. We'll get to them more in depth in a minute. Not so much for Minnesota. Green Bay is number 9, so they are back on top, jumping the Vikings after a pretty rough week 1 showing. Again, weird how things ebb and flow there with the power rankings, even though Minnesota beat Green Bay head-to-head. Maybe that was just the week 1 fluke game for Green Bay. That tends to happen every year. The Saints and Packers almost always have a weird bad loss early in the season. Speaking of weird bad losses, the Ravens fall to number 8. They were top 5 last week. That was a disaster collapse. You cannot lose that football game, and in particular, I am mad at Baltimore. I had them in a parlay and a teaser this week, and they hit. My picks hit. I had like 8 picks combined or 9 picks combined there, and the Ravens blew up both of them. It cost me like $80 on like 2 $5 bets. So thanks for that, Baltimore. Number 7, the L.A. Rams. They move up 1 spot. Maybe the Bills are just really good at football. Very possible. Rams also, I didn't think looked that efficient, consistently great against the Falcons. The Chargers at number 6. Maybe you don't throw that pick 6 if you're the Chargers, and maybe you win that football game. The 2 L.A. teams, back-to-back, very real contenders, I believe, this year. But who is the better Los Angeles team? C for the Chargers or R for the Rams? Let me know in the comments section. Number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. They are just outside of the top 4. I was impressed by Philly in week 2. That was a blowout performance that I think was very impressive in prime time. I will make note, I had them at 4, but I was outvoted by others as the Miami Dolphins narrowly are ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles. A great comeback win in week 2, and now the Dolphins have a chance to announce themselves as not a potential playoff threat, but I would argue a Super Bowl threat against the Buffalo Bills in the game of the week. Who you got in week 3? B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. Number 3, as we are in our undefeated team section, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That defense is deadly. The offense wasn't even that great in week 1 or in week 2. Again, I think the Cowboys, Saints both have pretty good defenses as well. But the Bucs defense is as good as any in the NFL right now. Very impressed with how they fared. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was not the best game from Patrick Mahomes, but they still got the win. He had like 4 or 5 plays that should have been picked off. Doesn't matter. Got the win. The Chiefs were a consensus number 2 this week, which means your consensus number 1 team, the Buffalo Bills. 2 primetime games, 2 blowout wins against teams we thought were going to be good. Not so sure on Tennessee anymore. The Bills, a unanimous number 1 this week in the Chat Sports Power Rankings.